very good evening. One of those nights where it's best to stay in and watch the box. And we hope it's going to be an illuminating evening for those of a Blades persuasion tonight. The name Matt Prestridge, I think most Sheffield United fans will have heard of it. They'd certainly recognise him. He's ever present at home games. He's down there on the bench. He has a head of hair that's recognisable from a distance. He's laughing in the corner here. But not many of you, perhaps, will know his precise role at Sheffield United and just how important it is. It's not to overstate it. He's number 3 in the power base of the management system there under Chris Wilder and Alan Knill. And he and they came as a package when they moved from Northampton up to Bramall Lane before the beginning of last season. And furthermore, this guy, he's only 26 years of age. I don't know why I should allow anybody of that youth into my studio, but good evening, Matt Prestridge.
Yeah.
You've got your name wrong there slightly. James Gregg will make it an even younger studio later when he joins us. Look, I'll get the boring title out of the way first. You're head of sports science at Sheffield United. I've reduced that to fitness chief, but that doesn't cover everything, does it? You're a coach as well. Yeah, qualified coach.
Yeah, it's I think they call it a multi-discipline role. But it's sort of evolved really. I think when I first joined Chris at Northampton, it was a fitness coach, and that was the brief he wanted. He wanted a fitness coach, and it's just evolved over time really. That the more time we've had together, the more that we've got to learn about each other, and I've added things to the way we work, and they've taught me plenty as well. So the role's sort of evolved. There's a lot of the coaching side involved, but really it's to make sure on a Saturday and a Tuesday, the players are tip top and raring to go, really. Well,
we'll break that down and talk in more detail about your precise role, how it works, and the sports science at Bramall Lane a bit later. But you've come a long way. I referred to your age. You've come a long way in a short time. You've already worked, previously for Watford. You're from Watford, I think, aren't you? Derby and Spurs. That's three biggish football clubs there, not half, as is Sheffield United and Northampton in between.
Yeah. And
How did you manage to do that?
There's a few more squeezing in there as well.
Go on then.
Yeah, Forest. I was at Forest. Had a season at Forest. Did a little bit for Burton Albion as well. So there's a few more squeezed in there. But it was quite a conscious thing really for me. That some of it's circumstance, but I set out quite early, and I knew that I had to get lots of experience. And all those clubs, the role's been slightly different really from Derby, where it was sort of going in and taking sessions, half an hour with the little kids, and taking sessions, to Spurs when it was working with the first team there, and helping the manager and the coaching staff set up sessions, and moving everything around to make sure the sessions flowed, and then helping out on the fitness side as well. So it's been quite a thorough education, but I wouldn't swap it. I wouldn't swap it really. It's all played a massive part.
Yeah, you started at the age of 12 then.
and early, instead of a paper round, I started coaching. Yeah. No, it was something I was quite fortunate really, because I think the coaches I had when I was young probably saw that that I was never good enough to have a career in the game, but I was always enthusiastic and wanted to learn, and I was very lucky to coach. I had a guy called Jimmy Gilligan, who was caretaker manager at Nottingham Forest. Not too far back, I think he works for the FA now. I had Pat Holland, who was at the West Ham team, where I think they won 2 FA Cups in a few years. He was one of my guys. I had a guy called Dave Reddington. So I had 3 really, really good coaches when I was growing up and playing, that sort of pushed me towards the coaching side and towards sports science, and go and get, because I think they could tell I had the enthusiasm for everything, but not much ability to maybe do it in the other side. So yeah, really from sort of 16, 17, 18, I started putting sessions on, and
yeah, journalists can relate exactly to what you're talking about, because we weren't good enough to play the game either, so we just blab on about it, talk about it. Yeah. Sometimes effectively, sometimes not. Yeah. But, you're so involved here. You head up the keeping the players fit. You head up treatment of injuries, but you're also involved, along with Alan Knill and obviously the manager, in coaching the first team as well. Yeah. 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 Well, big job, big role. Yeah. Well, we're quite lucky, really. We've got a great set of staff. So we've got Paul Watson, the head of medical, who joined us from Brighton in the summer. He
he oversees, you know, he's the head physio, if you like. He oversees that side of it, and then we've got a great sports science team as well in Lee Rickards and Lee McMahon, who've both been at the club for a while now, who have their sort of separate parts, if you like. So Lee Rickards looks at the gym, and he really, that's his side of it. He really takes that forward, and Lee McMahon tends to head up the rehab and the GPS side of it, and then we've got another couple of people there, Nicky Travis and Rob Rayner, that work with it as well. So we're well staffed, and it just allows us really to specialise a little bit and to, you know, so for instance at Northampton myself, you end up doing a lot of jobs and maybe not being able to spend as much time on one thing as you'd like. You end up being quite stretched, which is great for yourself and as a learning experience, but not always the best delivery for the players and what gets best out of the players. Where we're lucky at Sheffield United is that we can really get into some detail in bits that we want to, because we're well staffed, and it's important really for that, and it's helped us to be better really over the last couple of years.
I'm sure supporters will want me to ask you to bring an injury update on players, and I will do. Just, you know, in this first part of the show, obviously there's some names to run by: Kieran Freeman, Keelan Lavery, Paul Coots, Ched Evans, who's close to coming back, David Brooks as well. Before I do all that, I get chided by the manager occasionally because I like old school, you see. I don't know what, it's something to do with my age, but anyway, I really appreciate old school methods and like to see them working. But he's always saying, hey, don't forget the new school. So, and he came out with this phrase, old school, new school, I think, in the league manager's presentation
I remember
at the end of the season.
Table,
Now, you are you're 26 years of age, you are the new school, right? Tell me what it is.
Well, to be fair, Chris, I mean, Chris pushes us on that side. It's, you know, it's not just a case of, you know, him batting one side and us batting another, because I firmly believe in what he says on that, you know, what he calls old school, but it's really just hard work and you know, people having the right attitude and coming to work and wanting to work hard.
And a bit of discipline if they don't.
And what we try and bring really to that is just tools to help him know if people are doing what he you know, think, because your eyes tell you mainly, but you know, we have the technology now where, you know, we can maybe look back on a week and think, has the player done enough? And if he hasn't, then we can bridge that gap.
How do you tell if the player hasn't done enough? Is that from the stats?
Yeah, so we've got GPS monitors, so the players wear them for every session, every game. So you get a retrospective, you know, view on how much have they done, how much of that is at a high intensity, how much of that, you know, is just the total distance, and it's both to try and push the players to do more, you know, so we keep raising their bar, but also you're looking at, you know, how do we prevent injuries from that side is maybe not putting players under stress as we don't need to. So, you know, it's how you manage your training week, is that we, you know, need to get the most out of it and work hard, but at the same time you can't have 10 players sat in your injury room and 10 key players.
GPS monitors, what, as you say, in training and in every
in
every
well.
game.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Is that common across the game? Is that routine?
Yeah, if you look closely enough now, not in the Premier League because it works differently. But if you look from the Championship all the way down to League Two now, you'll see behind the players you'll see a little. Where it just pokes out a little bit, and that's the GPS unit. It will just look like it almost looks like they're just wearing puffed up T-shirts a little bit.
Right.
But that's the GPS unit, and they only brought it in, I think it was 3 seasons ago, where you can wear them in games. And some players don't like to do it, which I completely respect, because they think, you know, that they've never wore them before, and they're a bit superstitious like that. But as well, some complain that defenders tug on them and bits like that, which I don't think really happens, but.
Have you? I mean, do all of your players willingly?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. We're one or two. I won't say who, but we're one or two who don't.
Yeah. Is it necessary for the goalkeeper to wear one?
No, they do have specialist units. That's not something we've done actually. I think Darren Ward, the goalkeeper, would love to do that because he's that kind of professional. He would love to do it, but it's not been something.
So if the goalkeeper's found on the halfway line when he should be in the, you know, you can say, hey, you shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, the technology is just not for that. It's just not quite there yet. A lot of clubs in the Premier League, I think, are now there with that sort of technology.
And can you then sit down with the player and say, look, this is where you ran on Saturday. This is where you were there, but you should have been. Yeah, you weren't in the box enough, for instance, or. Yeah,
I mean, you can get called a trace map, and that's something that I think the club have had for years. That's more of a camera system thing, really. I mean, the GPS is more raw numbers, so you marry it up with you know, your eye really, and you tend to just look back. So we tend to look at every game and go, have we run more than the opposition? You know, we get GPS stats for both teams at the games.
And is it common that you have run more than the opposition, or are there some games where in fact you don't?
No, for the stats we have, we are pretty much higher than most teams when they play us. That we tend to do more, and that's not without exception. There are teams that have come, and I remember Warsaw last year came and did a hell of a lot of. The stats were really, really high. Probably the highest we've had since we've been at the club, to be honest, was Warsaw last year. Fleetwood when they came, Fulham this year were really high, and it tends to be the games where the teams have come and played a certain way. The stats are, but we've had other teams which would surprise you really, who have been really low compared to ourselves. But
quite clearly, there's a target there.
Yeah.
That your target is in every game. You'd want to be covering more ground than the opposition.
Yeah,
collectively.
I mean, first and foremost, you want to win the game, and the stats are secondary. But you're just looking for, if we're not winning football matches and we're not running more than the opposition, well, if we run more than the opposition, that's something easy for the manager to solve and go, look, we need to run more.
Yeah.
And
doesn't mean to say
here's the
win,
stats. No,
as the possession stats.
And to be honest, there's also games where we've run more than our average or more than the opposition, and we've lost and we've not played very well. So you've got to be careful as well with the technology, that you don't put the blinkers on with it, and you're not too.
Do you trust those?
Yeah, exactly, and that's where Chris and Alan are great, because first and foremost that's what they're going to trust, and they're not going to get caught up in statistics, but you'd be remiss to throw them out the window and not to take advantage of them. So it's just getting the balance right, really.
Yeah, we'll talk about diet and discipline of players during the summer later in the show. And before we just tackle the individual player injuries that you kind of preside over, Chris Wilder's had a successful policy of train as you play.
Yep.
Okay, day in, day out.
Yep.
He wants to see that same level of commitment, physical challenges, etc.
Yeah.
So that gives you a special challenge in terms of the player staying fit, does it not?
Yeah, it also makes my job a lot easier, to be honest.
Does it?
Because I think the biggest thing about working with Chris is how relentless he is, and how driven he is, and the fact that when even yourself, you might come into work on a Monday morning and had a great result on a Saturday, and the players will go through the same thing. Chris is thinking about the next Saturday on the bus back. Normally, he'll be looking at the next Saturday, and he's that driven to win football matches, that the players have to work hard during the week. So it makes our job easier. Where you may be coming in is that you need consistency. So you don't want a week where you maybe spike way beyond what you'd normally do, and you don't want a week where you fall in way short. So with the technology and with the way you set things up and you plan training, you're trying to get a consistency in your training, which for us is doing quite a lot.
Yeah, that's
what we want to be consistently working hard.
And this, in your view, avoids injuries rather than encourages them.
100%. 100%. So so long as you get there sensibly in the first place, I think and you do see a lot of sides that maybe have a 2-week pre-season where they crack the whip, and then the conditioning work tends to trail off, and they'll do what they just call technical and tactical sessions. Whereas, we work from day one, and then we just try and get that consistency really. And we're not into going over the top, but it's just about hard work and consistently over time. And it's for us, I'd say it's been our biggest injury prevention tool really that we've had, and the players buy into it because they see the results.
Yeah, but also you're training with the ball a lot of the time, which players want to do.
Yeah, everything we try. Yeah. But I mean, don't get me wrong, we put running sessions on. We're only on Tuesday. We try to mix things up really. So you maybe have a one drill where it's a game going on, one drill with a ball, and then there's another drill where the players are running, if you like. It always tends to be exercises related to the game still, but where they are running, and it's it's hard work. So.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to take you through the injuries, and just hopefully you've got some good news on that front. Some other good news, just briefly, just to put in the second part, we'll have a little teaser to a special show that Sheffield Live has tomorrow evening, 8:30 p.m. tomorrow evening, presented by Az Mohammed and Stephen Nicholas, and the special guest on that show is none other than Harry Maguire, the former Sheffield United player at Leicester City and England. I'm delighted to be on the show as well. Really looking forward to that. That's 8:30 tomorrow night. We'll have a little clip of Harry Maguire by way of promoting that. The injuries, there have been a lot of the more serious injury types this season, haven't there? Less of the little niggles, more of the... Kieran Freeman, whereabouts is he now?
Kieran's back with us on the grass, so he's close. He just really, I think, needs some minutes now. He needs some game minutes into his legs, so I think he'll play a few games for the 23s. But he's close. He's been with us for a little bit now, and he's back on the grass, and I think he's feeling pretty strong. Again, that we have had some injuries. I think that was Carter Vickers fell on him in a I think it was the Ipswich game, maybe I can't remember now, but fell on him and obviously he's done quite a bit of damage to his knee, but. He's close now, so Kieran will be back.
So he's close, a week or two maybe away from coming back. Because match fitness is a different thing entirely. You've got to get that. Ched Evans, very very close now.
Doing great, Ched's doing great. He's played 30 minutes on Monday night for the under 23s and scored. So he's back with us full time with training. He's trained all this week. He's looking sharp. He's a great guy to have around the training ground, and he does brighten up training a little bit.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
In what way?
He's just a great character. He's very sharp. You can't maybe say any. You can't get away with saying something that can be misconstrued as something else because he's on it. If you say to him, take 30 seconds rest, he'll find another way of doing something that's not. But he's a great character, and we've missed him around training, and it's great to have him back, and he's close now, so I think he'll play again next week, and then
he's not been able to give his best because he has played for Sheffield United, and you've got the feeling that what you've seen there is not what you're about to get.
Yeah, I think we all felt for Ched because the character he is. Again, he went through the pain barrier really, and he's had that he had that issue with his ankle from right back to when we played when he was playing for Chesterfield back in, I think it might have been November in that League One season. He's had that issue that's really hampered him, and we thought that we could get him through it, and to a certain extent did, but for Ched's career and for our sakes as well, to get Ched
properly fit.
Yeah, properly fit.
Yeah.
He's
which is fairer to him.
He's had that operation.
David Brooks, glandular fever can be very debilitating. Whereabouts is he now? How close?
He's he can walk upstairs now without being tired, I think. So he's it was that bad to be honest with you, Alan. He came in one day and he trained, and I think afterwards he just felt a little bit ill, and then by the Thursday he was wiped out. But he had a rough Christmas. He had a rough few weeks, and when he first came back into the training grounds, he couldn't walk up the stairs without being tired. But
really?
Yeah, he was in a bad way. But
sounds like he's a little way off.
Well, that was a few weeks back now. He's back on the grass. He's done quite a bit of work today, and he's feeling a lot better. So he's not too far off, to be honest.
In contention or not?
I think the next couple of weeks we'd like to have Brooksy back because we have missed him. We've missed
that spark.
We've missed his presence, and
well, look, that first half's flown by, and I haven't mentioned Paul Coote, so I'll make a note to ask you about his progress in part two, along with loads and loads of other stuff. James is going to be here as well. I hope you're going to be there. Look forward to your company. See you in 5.